Hi everyone, Ronald Ingram here, your rebel banker futurist, broadcasting live, simulcast on X, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and more right now from the Nevada high desert looking down on the Luxor Pyramid. Early start today for our European friends and others in the other hemisphere. Due to popular demand, popular request. So thanks everyone for following on Ingram Corp, our new channel on X. As you know, as well, we have to migrate our community over. So far the community is still up on X, but we expect that that may be terminated at any time. So we keep our fingers crossed that it sticks around, but no matter now, it's fine. We can, the main channel continues at Ronald Ingram, and the new channel at Ingram Corp will suit us well. In fact, many had requested that we set up a separate corporate style channel, so that you got your wish. So I think it's going to work well, and we're already seeing many new faces. And but first off, what is, because there may be some people that are joining for the first time with this new time slot. So what are we building here? The SPOCK token isn't another token or another wallet. It's the first true agentic banking system on Solana with global capacity. We started with the digital asset, the SPOCK Genius token, but it was never just a meme. It's been about utility from day one. It's the on-chain representation of what will be a 100 FTEP machine that powers zero-person enterprises. FTEP is a unit of production or productivity that I coined for as a measure, a key performance indicator in the new Singularity economy for a new economic model that will be touched on, not in a great deal of depth. My book, Genius, the Live Long and Prosper book, the Genius book, is already quite a tome that it's not out yet. It was near completion. Pardon me. But then with the events of March 17th, where the CFTC and the SEC announced new guidance on digital assets, providing really a clear framework, even pre-Clarity Act, post-Genius Act, that I just had to seize. This project that we're undertaking here with SPOCK and BROK, which I'll get to, and all under the Neobanx umbrella, is something that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I've proof of that. You can look me up in the Grokopedia. It's an encyclopedia like Wikipedia, except larger, growing more quickly. Ronald Ingram, look me up on Grokopedia. You'll see I'm credited as coining the term neobank. So I've been about 20 plus years ago, over 20 years ago. And I have been progressing. All the things that I've been doing have been moving towards that destination. I launched a merchant acquiring platform, which became the plan, and the people and the systems became are still operational today as part of under the Worldline umbrella. A company called Beanstream that I founded is the engine that powers Worldline's merchant merchant payments globally for online digital commerce and for the traditional. It's funny to talk about any kind of digital payments as being traditional, but the relatively old school processing of debit and credit cards online for merchant services, products and services. So, which is now doing processing tens of billions of dollars per month. So from there, and from launching over mobile wallets that have been used by well over 10 million people by now for mobile banking, for debit cards, for prepaid cards, for that whole area. But all of that was just small steps towards what I envisioned as neobanking and neobanks, and also included a patent filed in 2013, which is a key part of this whole infrastructure, which I believe provides a global structure for global banking at the individual level, where individuals have rights, and rather than things being ultimately highly centralized. People don't even realize how centralized our banking systems are, with really one nerve center, one brain in Basel, Switzerland, represented by 6 people representing 6 countries, having permanent seats at the high table in Basel, Switzerland, controlling all central banks globally. Not speculation at all. In fact, they've become more public recently as they try to take on Bitcoin by producing and generating their own ultra centralized digital banking currency that they've been promoting and promulgating, because they're very concerned, frankly. They do see Bitcoin as an enemy. They don't say that. They're always very guarded in what they say and how they say it. But Bitcoin is not the friend of central banks, and they know it. It is another key part of the system that will turn the high table upside down, that will turn invert the banking pyramid, which is our mission and purpose here. So it's the mission, the purpose, very, very lofty, very ambitious, very achievable. Never doubt that a small group can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. It's a quote from Margaret Mead. And Buckminster Fuller has a similar one that I often quote, that even an individual, because ultimately the small group starts with an individual. In this team obsessed world, we often forget that every team has a leader, every organization, every board, every committee, even though it may be unspoken, has a center point that is the leader point. And that is I've learned, incredibly significant to organizations. You would think it would be obvious, but it's almost been obscured and inapparent, and children are being taught that it's always about the community. Actually, it is. Everything that I'm doing is for humanity, and ultimately humanity includes us as individuals. So our rights and our freedoms are sacrosanct in my mind, and that is in all the work that I've done, from in neobanking and in traditional banking. That is central thesis. So privacy, security, self-sovereignty, community, and innovation. Those are 5 principles that are baked into everything that I do. I started to really articulate that ever more clearly, and it's even in the core value mission statement of my current traditional bank, that is a fully chartered U.S. bank with a full service charter, not a special purpose charter like a Kraken or some of the other fintech charters. This is a full service charter. And I also want to be clear at this juncture that is separate from what I'm doing here. I'm just being transparent, and I have to be transparent with what I do, and that's back to full circle, back to the March 17th thing. So what happened on March 17th that was so special was the CFTC and the SEC in the United States laying out what the definition of a digital commodity was, and then making that even more clear on April 28th. So basically 10 days was as quickly as I could get SPOCK launched. The plan, all the pieces, the plan was set, and all the parts that we're working on to this day, there have been no pivots yet. BROK was part of it. I didn't mention BROK at the beginning. BROK is the face of this system, for this whole agentic stack, for this global agentic banking system. BROK is the face of the system to make it simple to interact with, all of the intelligence behind it, all of the artificial intelligence behind it, and systems behind patented systems and generic systems and global systems and infrastructure that are all tied in. Some of it going back to the origins of the internet, like the X402 payment infrastructure that was built into the early infrastructure of the internet. All of that is built in. All of that is part of the plan. And I wanted to start with a really succinct what is SPOCK. So it is to bring it all together, it is a meme plus utility coin. So we launched on Pump Fun because of my worldview is that innovation happens around the edges, around the perimeters. So not in Wall Street, not in even centers of excellence, academic centers of traditional academic centers of research and development. It comes from the fringes, from the perimeter, and many in the mainstream financial world would consider, even though Pump Fund, which is also part of the reason I chose it, is the largest platform for launching meme coins by far, the traditional financial world would view that as the Wild West. And it is to a degree, but that's what I love about it, because this is where innovation happens always, historically. So history never repeats itself exactly, but the patterns repeat. And so the pattern is that innovation comes around the edges, around the fringes, and the perimeters of things. So that's why we launched there, and it worked perfectly. We attracted a lot of awareness, a lot of eyeballs around the world that became aware of something that would otherwise be an isolated project for a year or 18 months, probably, before people around the world started to become aware of it. Here we're able to, by launching on Pump Fund, we're able to bring awareness to this whole system, starting with SPOCK, globally out of the gate with zero marketing budget. So the marketing will come later. I consider what we did on March 26th to be the soft launch, really. We will pursue all avenues of marketing, and with an emphasis on public relations, because what we're doing here lends itself to PR, because it is exceedingly novel. By definition, it's novel. You don't get a patent unless something is novel. So our system provides novel ways to move funds. It provides a way for machines to transact between each other. So these are the utility function aspects that I'm talking about. So the meme is SPOCK, the culturally relevant, iconic, logical representative of the utopian intergalactic future. So perfect representative of what it is. But SPOCK is also a bank-friendly acronym as well. SPOCK means secure, privately owned credit key. Secure, privately owned credit key. So it's the mechanism by which bankers, financial institutions, employers, anybody that uses a traditional credit score will likely want this new uncorrelated data that provides a much fuller view of the individual with the individual's permission. So that's a key component of this novel alternative to traditional credit scoring, which is a pretty big industry, just one of the industries that we're disrupting with this project. But it is a key part, and there really are only a few key parts to this system that I'll recap. All of banking can be boiled, and this is in my book, Neobank, Navigating the Future of Banking, available on Amazon. If you buy that book, by the way, I'll give you a small bag of SPOCK tokens to get you started. You just follow the instructions that I posted elsewhere, and basically you send me your public key or your public wallet address by email to Ronald@neobanx with an X.com, and I'll send you with a receipt, proof of receipt that you purchased the book. Also, if you subscribe to Substack, you can get a look at my next book that's coming out, which is referenced earlier, Genius, Live Long and Prosper. That has my biohacking protocol in there, as well as information on the economic system, on the new economic theory and model that I've developed, and the new model for physics that I've developed called Ingram Quantum Objectivism, and the Ingram Evaluation Matrix, which is also, that part of it is also built into this global agentic banking system. The Ingram Evaluation Matrix is the brain that enables AI models to provide explainable decisions, explainable advice, which is, I think everyone appreciates that, but it's essential in banking and other verticals, highly regulated verticals, but particularly in banking. And that was where I designed this BROK for banks and financial institutions primarily initially. But then I realized that this is something that could be made available, which is always my plan, but on a different timetable. But I realized that I built something that every human that transacts, every being that not just every human, every being that transacts financially would benefit by having their own super genius private robo banker, valet, concierge, CPA, accountant, CFO, intelligence for educational purposes, because none of those topics AI cannot be certified in any of those topics. And just as I can't provide financial advice because I'm no longer, I was in the past actually a financial advisor with Merrill Lynch, but early in my career, prior to banking. But yeah, I'm no longer certified as a financial advisor. So this is not financial. Not financial advice. SPOCK, the SPOCK token, Neobanx is not a security, and BROK is not a security either. But SPOCK is not a security; it's a digital asset. So that allows everyone to invest and participate at a very, very early stage, which you generally wouldn't have access to. I would normally fund, this is the first time I've ever done this, I would normally fund projects through more conventional means like venture capital, angel investors, and so forth. So you would never see a project like this, a real functional business, as based around a new technology, a new utility meme token. you would never normally see that. So I hope you see that as an opportunity. And yeah, there will be, it's very early stages. Like I say, is going to be a lot more information coming out. But I wanted to get into some of the technical details today. We're already 20 minutes in. That was supposed to be my short overview. Actually, I went into a fair amount of depth, so I might as well just keep going. I've already spoken a little bit about the Neoscore. Let me just flesh out that part of it, because I've mentioned that there's 4 pillars to the banking system. The first one is transacting, then borrowing, lending, and trust. So Neoscore is about trust. It's a character score that is owned by the individual, that's portable, that's more private, that's designed to meet global GDPR standards, which the European standard of privacy, which is more stringent than I think is the lowest common denominator. And so that's because we're building a global system. We try to make sure that we've adapted to what is coming, skating to where the puck will be, rather than where things are today, to maximize our advantage versus the ancient legacy cumbersome infrastructure that all the credit bureaus have to deal with. So our score is designed to be, it's private, it's portable. What that means is today, if you have a credit score at Equifax, you move from London to New York, you're starting at 0. You can't call the head office, even though the head office is based in the US. You can't call the London office and say, hey, send my data over to the US. I'm moving to the US. Doesn't work that way. And that's really insane. With this, that will never be an issue, because you own the data. Therefore, you can authorize any institution to look at it for purposes of you obtaining a loan at your discretion. And of course, if you don't share it, and a bank is using that, you might be unlikely to get a loan from that institution. Alternatively, though, you don't have a choice. At least you have a choice. At other institutions, you don't. That only use traditional credit scores, you don't even have a choice. So, and you, for this, wouldn't even pay as a user. Just like today, when you apply for a loan or credit card or mortgage or or a business applying for any kind of loan, the institution pays the credit bureau to provide the report, and they pay. So they pay the credit bureau. But that's built into your cost, but it's minimal, especially if you're talking even a $10,000 loan at we're talking a buck or two for a credit report, full conservatively. So very much worthwhile for a bank to get another source of data that provides more information. And in fact, what I believe to be the most important information, more important than a traditional credit score. And I'll tell you why really quickly. So credit, the best practices in credit that are quite ancient now and established by some of the leading banks, one of the leading banks that I worked for in the world in underwriting, and went through their training program, both in commercial and personal lending, and the systems side of it, as they were moving to make things ever more digital and autonomous, relatively speaking, not like AI that we use today. But they were trying to automate their decisions, but they still taught what are called the 5 C's of credit. Number 1, character, in this order. Number 1, character. Number 2, credit. Number 3, capacity, ability to pay. Number 4, capital, how many assets you've actually accumulated. And number 5, collateral. Is there a title that could be connected to the loan in case of default? And most people would think that's most important. And in crypto world, actually with smart contracts where you have perfect liquidity and you don't have an asset that can be, say, like a car or house, that might be damaged if you're using crypto as your collateral, which we will be doing for SPOCK. Forward-looking statements. This is a plan. This is a business plan. This is not an offering. This is not a forward-looking statement. This is our plan. Okay, is coming, and I'll lay that out real quickly here. Actually, I'll just show you so we're building in public phase 0 right now. The Singularity launch, that's where BROK launches July 24th. And revenue ignition phase, that's where institutions and individuals start paying for use of these services in a standardized format. There is revenue being generated already, and some live transactions already. But all those models are still being refined and determined or finalized. Finally, phase 3 is where we scale all of these things up, and launch the Interstellar Bank SPV. This is a plan. Okay, so this is not a forecast. This is not a promise. This is our internal plan. And for any regulators listening, this is not the Interstellar Bank. Think of it as a system. It's not I'm not planning on opening another branch or getting another charter in the US anytime soon. This is all separate from my current bank holdings. And so that gives you an idea of what's happening the next 18 months fairly definitively, and I can break that down into more detail. But that is so the credit score that I'm talking about, the Neoscore, that was patented, and the patent was issued for that in 2013, and that was pre AI. Actually, I had already launched my first AI about six or 7 years earlier. My first conversational agent was launched in about 22 years ago, on July 24th. That's the date. It's actually the birthday of my first conversational agent called BuddhaBot, which actually was more ambitious in a way. Banking is vastly simpler compared to what the objectives were for the BuddhaBot, which was nothing less than uncovering the hidden mysteries of nature and science. Very interesting project that from that day forward, I determined that definitely the future belonged to ZPEs, and I thought it would have happened sooner, zero-person enterprises, and I thought it would have happened sooner, but that's okay. Everything happens as it's meant to at the right time, I believe. So everything has converged, and this is the time, though. There's this because it would have been a number of things had to be ready for this to be the time, right? It couldn't be just the technology. It also had to be the political environment. You had to have the right leader and the right political party in power, and with the right positioning globally in terms of geopolitics. You had to have a baseline of adoption for digital currencies in the crypto world. All of these things had to come together, and they only are really coalescing right now. So this is why there's so much intensity around and fear. There have been a lot of I was going to say, There's been a lot of inertia, I'll just say, in banking, and a lot of times I also been a consultant to private equity and private equity funds and the big consulting firms. So sort of your consultant's consultant through Gerson Lerman Group and ProSapient and other organizations like that, and to advise consultants on the future in domains from artificial intelligence to banking, and now all of those things, which seem quite disparate again, but now have all come together. The only thing that still is rather siloed and unusual is my interest in biohacking. But really, health and wealth, they really do go together. I guess it just seems like it's like too much information. It's not, and in fact, biohacking, and because studying biology is one of the true pure sciences, because you're studying what is in the universe, this complexity that exists, and how biological organisms and life and consciousness, and what is life, what is consciousness, and how it evolves, and how cellular structures work, and all of these, all of the microcosmos, as one of my teachers, Mantek Chia, would refer to it. So you've got the macrocosmos and you've got the microcosmos, this universe that exists within us. And markets, capital markets, banking are expressions of human intelligence, even beyond human intelligence. And therefore, the same systems and patterns are applicable. So, so for example, it's very easy for me to see what needs to happen in banking right now, and I call myself the rebel banker because that's definitely the way I'd be perceived. But I'm an instrument of disruption and a that sounds funny. That sounds like kind of James Bondish, doesn't it? So I am. What I mean by that is I'm a representative of the force of autophagy in terms of human biological and all biology. There's a process that was only, it's interesting how in biohacking and biology and health, how so many breakthroughs are happening too, of course, because of similar convergences. And this is why you may see, if I'll actually pull up this diagram here. You see down here on the bottom left, the Chiron.ai SPV, something I don't really talk about that much because we've got a lot to talk about. But the Ingram evaluation matrix, the brain for AI that uses the Neoscore, which brings character back into credit, the most important aspect, right? It's not of the 5 C's, character. Neoscore is a methodology and a system and an algorithm that helps determine at least separating malign from benign intent. And it was extended to apply for beyond humans to machines. Let that sink in. This very important new credit score, the model, the way it was designed, was an easy extension to incorporate machine intelligence into that. And it's just as important, if not more important, to detect character now more than ever, when you're having machines that are very soon going to eclipse humans in terms of volume of banking and commerce, commercial activities. So you need to know that something about the character behind that machine and the owner of the machine, under what direction, the direction of that machine. Is it malign or benign? And there's not going to be a credit score that you can turn to. And that's another problem with the traditional credit scores. You'd have thin file or no file folks. And I went from banking into the fringes of alternative financial services, very large fringes like Advance America, to look at lending into the underbanked and underserved markets. which was part of the vision of Neobanx, and inspired partly by Grameen Bank in Bangladesh, where you had Muhammad Yunus, who won a Nobel Prize for what? For building an economic model and system, an economic model and banking system for exceedingly underserved, impoverished even individuals, primarily women, in the developing world, and was hugely successful. A lot of that was baked in. Not that I copied that. I almost became. There's something called the morphogenetic field, which is rather interesting in the field of biology, fringe biology, evolutionary biology. Anyway, all of this, there's corollaries between biology and financial systems. And the Ingram evaluation matrix which is a system that uses the Neoscore and other inputs to look at any decision that needs to be made from health or to wealth, or I should say from wealth is what I'm always talking about lately, but it also is applicable to health. And I've been talking to large institutions in the health field as well. And this is an area, they really are struggling with how to utilize artificial intelligence in the best way that's going to meet legal requirements and regulatory requirements. Basically, any high stakes, highly regulated decision-making area, you need decisions to be explainable. And that's what the Ingram evaluation matrix excels at. It makes any model provide its output in terms of recommendations in the framework of the Ingram evaluation matrix, which you can has 4 immutable categories. Strategic fit, based on the entity, what their core values are, mission, vision, goals, feasibility, what they have available to them, who they are, what they know, what the organization knows in the case of an organization, financial resources, networks, all the things that are available to them. That determines the feasibility of a potential course of action, whether something is well within your wheelhouse or well outside of it. And it can be changed if something is that you want to do is outside of your wheelhouse because you don't have the resources, and those resources are knowledge. You can go out and get the knowledge now very quickly using artificial intelligence. The third immutable category is financial impact. By banking itself is core to civilization from the beginning. Trade. The earliest Sumerian tablets were ledgers. Trade. So the first writing was used for trade. Financial impact is exceedingly important, and that's immutable in every decision. It applies to war. It applies to life, to death, to war. It applies to life and healing, medicine. And then the fourth category is risk. And there are external factors, real things like in the environment, in nature, weather, and scientific breakthroughs, and that are coming externally, and all of these external factors, geopolitics, all of those are macro factors. And there are internal risk factors that need to be considered within the organization. And then there are self-imposed risks, if you will. So we put limits on ourselves. Civilization puts limits on agents, literally, and what they're free to do and not free to do, and determined by laws and so forth. So this is a very comprehensive, holistic philosophical system to look at everything that's done and in the world. So the Ingram evaluation matrix lends itself to health and longevity as well. And that's Chiron.ai. That's another part of the Ingram group of companies. I don't talk about that much, but I wanted to, for those people that wonder, how do health and wealth fit together? Now you've got a sense they really do fit together. But right now we're focused on wealth with POCK and the first vertical that we're tackling because I'm embedded. Not only do I own a bank, but I'm a faculty member of the Bankers Institute, educating bankers with 1,800 financial institutions as members. So that is the obvious common sense vertical to attack first. And the so the Neoscore and the IEM are all well adapted to that vertical ready now. So that's tying back to the timeline that I gave you. So that's the kind of the holistic picture of how all of these parts fit together. And the that pretty well covers it. Now, if we're a deeper dive into, so the SPOCK on the transactional side, it was designed as a token for machine-to-machine commerce first, because that's the most demanding in a way, or the most, it's the most significant and likely the largest by volume. That's going to be the largest part of the economy very soon. So we built, it works for humans, of course, and all the action so far has been, all the real transactions so far have been human. But it's designed based on the X402 protocol and the MBC20 protocol on Solana for super fast, secure, inexpensive transactions between machines, machine to machine, machine to human, human to machine, and human to human. But particularly designed for even the light paper, which you can find on neobanx.com. Has a section in it specifically addressed in English to the machines, and the token itself has been exposed on Moltbook and to thousands and hundreds of thousands of agents, and that can identify this as a token for utility and for transaction. Transacting between machines, and that hasn't been fully it hasn't been promoted yet, or it hasn't been. There's a lot to do there. We haven't really scratched the surface yet, and that could actually end up being the largest, one of the largest sources of revenue in this whole thing. When I talk about the revenue ignition, I have another slide, but not with me today. But that shows that there are a number of different ways that we generate revenue, right? So there are whenever the Ingram evaluation matrix or the Neoscore or BROK is used, then that generates then tokens are consumed. SPOCK tokens are consumed. SPOCK has a limited supply, and 13% liquidity pool locked, or liquidity is locked in steam flow and publicly. So that's one of the things that machines look for as well. They look for that all the expected parameters for a good fair launch are there, and that the token is properly designed and meets the best expectations of the marketplace for humans as well as machines, and the machines hold it to a higher standard and check all the ownership structure and the liquidity and concentrations and all of those factors, all those business factors that an agents would look at all of that and more thoroughly probably than most humans would. They'd also look at me most thoroughly than most humans would, which is fine. I encourage you all to do your due diligence, and I'm fully doxed. I've already told you I own a bank, and I've done many different things, and you can read the 8-page article on Grokopedia. Look up Ronald Ingram on Grokopedia. So so SPOCK is is live and ready, and then BROK will. One of the challenges we've been finding with SPOCK is onboarding, and with all wallets, apparently, and all tokens, especially for newbies and normies that are getting into crypto for the first time, which I'm a big advocate of and have been really having a great deal of success with. Aside from the horrible friction on the onboarding experience, it's absolutely ridiculous. I guess I'm blown away by how horrible the onboarding experience is. And that's a great opportunity for us, though. So I'm okay with it, because I know exactly how to fix it, and it is, it's exactly what I experienced with mobile banking, and when banks first started trying to provide their full service banking services, they still haven't succeeded in providing full service banking services very well through the wallet or through the mobile app experience. And that was what I excelled at. And it was just really, the engineering there is just about creating a really seamless experience for the user. And it's not really that complicated, and a few other things, a few tricks, but just to make, and also, it's a balance of utilities, right? It had to make sure that the key, but again, it's friction. So the key things that a person needs to do, like to get paid and pay people, and to link in other cards and other methods of payment. And those are, after so the depositing funds, even, and transferring funds, pardon me. Those are, really, to me, obvious things that are still not solved, even in the mobile, even in the traditional neobanking model and the fintech model. The reason I laugh is because it's so far from traditional still. It's many leaders that I talk to in field analysts and sophisticated investors, hedge funds, VCs, they say that whole industry, the whole fintech neobank industry itself, is only in the first chapter of the book. So, and crypto hasn't even, we're in the introduction. We really literally are in the introduction. We haven't even got to the first chapter. I want to take it into the first chapter, and I want to make this a page turner for everyone. And that is a quick read, and we have we have more than the outline of the book. All the chapters are there, and they just need to be written and read now. And there's no mystery to me. It's just trying to get the information out as efficiently as I possibly can to everyone, and execute on the implementation as well, which has never been, and that's the other convergence area, right? The 0-person enterprise, that whole thing, where we amplify a human output by 100 times. That's what FTE represents, full-time equivalent person, average full-time person equivalent output. So when I say I want BROK to be the first 100 FTEP machine, that means BROK will be as productive. It'd be like having a team of 100 working for you and operating a business for you, advising you. It'd be like walking into a boardroom to do a transaction and having a team of lawyers and accountants and advisors, brilliant ones, that know you, that already have established, that know you deeply. And this is a key thing that I learned from my first conversational agent. I really unlocked I was struggling to get engagement with, I had 120 languages that BuddhaBot could speak, and I had subscribers all around the world. But I found that the quality of and the persistence of the memory was key component to the engagement. And so BROK, that is, will have, already has built into this stack, into BROK's construct, a persistent memory of every user. That so right now, the current state of the art, any of the models that you talk to, they know you could ask them for financial questions. They wouldn't be able to provide it to you in an explainable format like the Ingram evaluation matrix that's consistent, that's been socialized with institutions and at a high level, at high levels, and is universal enough to be a standard that could be applied to all artificial intelligence, making all artificial intelligence explainable. But the addition to that, the current state of the art isn't going to remember, say, your taxes from last year in the context thread. So that even if it did your taxes, and I've used BROK of prototype already, which I'm using already, and I'm only up to about 15 FTEP at this point. But already BROK did a fantastic job with my taxes, where quite complex, well over 100 pages, less than 200 pages, and the accountants had struggled. The first accountants had made errors. My personal accountant, I'll say, won't name a name, made egregious errors, and and just before I was about to go down to sign my final amendments, I just didn't feel like the accountant had the right answer yet, and I hadn't fully tested. I didn't think that BROK would be capable, to be honest, at that point. But I tried, and BROK came back with what all the calculations, went through all the 100+ pages within 5 minutes, gave me the exact number of what the final refund amount should be, and it was different than what the accountant had said. So I did this 5 minutes before I was going down to the accountant, literally, and got in the car, arrived at the accountant's office, and he said, first thing he greeted me, he says, "Ron, I've got great news for you. Actually, missed this, and here's the new number," right? And showed me the document. The number was to the penny exactly what BROK had calculated in 5 minutes, which had cost me tens of thousands of dollars, maybe over $100,000, probably, with multiple experts involved. That's an eye opener, isn't it? So I think that alone, right? That alone would be worth what to you, right? So we be testing BROK with some of the most engaged people in the SPOC community very soon here. It would have been Monday, maybe even this weekend, but because of the community thing, we had to migrate. Everybody have a migration path. Maybe our community will stick on X. Maybe they'll give us an exception or something. Who knows? But I had to. There's no indication of that. So prudent planning, contingency plans. We set up the @Ingram Corp new account, so you can go over there and find us there and sign up there in case anything happens to the community. We'll continue to use the community as long as it exists, but we'll migrate over to all new content. We'll move over in that direction. All right. we have group chat there as well that you can sign up with and sign up to, and those are right in the first two posts that I've made in the new group and in the old group, and so easy to find the link. And so do that. And so there's that, and so that setting all that up took a minute. And now this is a kind of an exciting distraction. I'm meeting up in San Francisco with some of the, I think we'll see. Some of the smartest entities on Earth right now, I would say. So we will. I'll see what I can share after that, and one way or another is going to be exciting for POCK. But I'm going to be traveling, so that might mean that that I may things don't. Yeah, so it might delay things a little bit, but next week for sure we'll be doing live testing with some folks on BROK to test out capabilities and get feedback, and so we're in very good shape for our July 24th launch. I'm confident to say that at this point. And yeah, in the meantime, there are all kinds of partnerships and even more things that may arise out of this meeting that I'm having in San Francisco on Tuesday. So I'm going to actually we'll have to do the next live stream. I'll put this out there for everybody, but we'll do the next live stream on Thursday instead of Tuesday. So maybe we'll make that the new schedule. So Saturday mornings, we'll keep this. I see lots of engagement, looks like. So we'll keep this Saturday. We'll keep Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Pacific, so that the other hemisphere of the world can more easily, conveniently engage if they wish. And then we'll do a weekday Thursday. It looks like it'll be Thursday at 6 p.m. for West Coast and for this hemisphere, 6 p.m. Pacific time. So that's what we'll do going forward. And I haven't got into as many of the details as I wanted to. So there's some people asking about quantum resilience and how it actually works at scale. It's very important. So here's the practical path. So we've got a hybrid post-quantum cryptography strategy, and we're using the lattice-based signatures from the Kyber family called the lithium. There's a new name now. NIST is giving this a pass, and as a solution for PQC, post-quantum computing. I guess you could say post-quantum crypto, but it's PQC usually stands for post-quantum computing. And so we'll be well prepared. We are well prepared for QDay. And we'll use this alongside classical ECDSA for all critical on-chain actions and transactions, smart contracts, identifying proofs, and this gives us immediate protection also, because we're well aware of the harvest now, decrypt later. And crypto isn't, I've been admonishing banks to get their act together on this, because I don't think banks understand that harvest now, decrypt later. So you think you're safe. So the banks think they're safe but they're way more exposed than all crypto, not all crypto, but most major crypto projects, certainly at the network level, like Solana, and Base and Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're well ahead of compared to banks, light years ahead of banks on quantum resilience. And yeah, so we're that banks are the ones that need to be concerned. And if there are any banks listening on a Saturday morning, I'll help you. Just DM me. You have to ask. I'm not going to seek you out. We have plenty of people that are really keen and interested, and they will be the new banks if the old banks don't catch up. And I have no sympathy. You have been warned. You have the opportunity. You have more than enough resources in most cases, and ball's in your court to act and get ready. And I spoke extensively at the conference. There's great resources available to you, not just me, but the Bankers Institute has one of the speakers there is a CEO of Quantum Field, and we had other speakers in the quantum space there. So NIST has told you what to do in this case. NIST needs to catch up too, though, because NIST needs to be, people are not talking about the singularity. And all you need to do is, and I put, this is a lot for, for many folks, I guess, but not really. I think you could probably you could probably have AI digest Ray Kurzweil's book. It's 672 pages. That's why I say it's a lot to ask maybe for folks, but it was a bestseller. So a lot of people must have read it when it came out, 2005. So this, mind you, Kurzweil gave us false hope or a false sense of security. He said that the singularity was coming in 2045. So it's about 20 years ahead of schedule. And so, it's not surprising that people aren't prepared. And I do have sympathy for people for banks that are trying to digest all this, but I don't have sympathy if they're not trying to digest this. And I don't have sympathy if they're not trying to seek the answers, because the answers are there. You could just DM me. I can tell you. I'm not really getting, there's interest, but I'm not going to, this is an emergency for banks. NIST is going to be getting more vocal about it. That's the National Institute of Science and Technology, that most regulators and bankers take their direction from. And they've put it out as a big risk, but the singularity they have not acknowledged. The NIST has not, to my knowledge yet, spoken to the impact of the singularity. And what is that? Well, you can read the book, but very simply, actually, save you the book maybe. It just means that things are accelerating. And so if you thought that you had 2 years to be ready for QDay, or if you thought QDay that was 2 years away, you aren't thinking about the singularity. You haven't digested the notion of the singularity that Musk says we're in, and that consensus is, there's actually a consensus that amongst anybody that knows anything about it, that it's maximum 2 years away. So we are on the cusp of it, if not in it right now. So that needs to be identified. And the pace of change itself, even Alvin Toffler, that was the first book I read, first serious book I probably ever read. Decided then and there I was going to be a futurist, my probably preteens or something like that, and or early teens. And his book was called Future Shock. That's actually a good. That was the kind of the genesis of the idea that was evolved by Ray Kurzweil with the singularity, is that because the singularity is a shock. It is the expression of what Alvin Toffler and other early futurists talked about where humans are just in shock because they're cognitively incapable of absorbing the rate of change. And really, that's the singularity. Just means that we're in a profound way where the pace of changes becomes almost vertical, and everything, all the laws of physics, even just like a black hole, the singularity in black hole astrophysics terminology is where the laws of physics break down, and that's kind of what's happening without a black hole. This is kind of what's happening to civilization. Is the changes are not, it's not business as usual. This is a change that is unprecedented. It's going to apply to health and wealth. There's going to be biological leaps. Where all kinds of diseases are being cured, new interfaces for extensions of human capacity. So the mobile phone, kind of became a fifth, appendage, or not a new appendage, if you will. We became almost, our phones have already made us like first step cyborg lights, and with AI and with more intelligent devices like hearing aids and optical aids and smart glasses and then even neuro implants that control that are thought operated. This is not science fiction anymore. This is all really happening, and that's what. That is a risk. It's an opportunity. I view it mostly as an opportunity. So I'm not the only one that can help. Probably most people the people that view this as opportunities are the ones that have what could be called an understanding, if you can understand something as profound as the singularity. And you just need a different framework of logic called quadrivalent logic versus binary logic. And just look it up. I think I've written it's in my book quite a bit, actually, because it's actually one of the I used to give biohacking tips in each one of these calls, and I'm going a little bit over today. I generally stop right at an hour, and so we'll finish. I see I'm 7 minutes over, so I'm going to wrap it up here right now. But quadrivalent logic is something I talk about as a biohack, and it just means thinking about, and whether you believe this or not, instead of thinking about things as yes, no, 0, 1, win, lose, think about zero sum. Think about something that is much closer to what I think most people understand it as the kind of the baseline principle in quantum physics, the superposition of states and the collapse of the wave function. All those things really just translate into, a little oversimplified, but 4 states: yes, no, yes and no, neither yes nor no. And this and computing at least has just the best computing system have a ternary logic, which is yes, no, or maybe, right? It would be another way, but that's not quite as profound. So anyway, that's a good neuroplasticity thing. It doesn't require any supplements, but my method of biohacking is more holistic and looks at the cognitive side and thoughts as being very tangible. And this ties into the laws of physics as I understand them in the Ingram quantum objectivism model, where thoughts are foundational, and the substrate of the universe is intelligence. That explains negentropy and entropy quite well. But wow, I'm getting too esoteric. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Just there's a lot of exciting things that are happening with POCK, and I don't pay attention too much to price fluctuations. Buy the dips. other than to pay attention and buy the dips. Just easy to me to say, because I know what's coming down the pipe. But also, actions speak louder than words sometimes, right? So you're all savvy. You can see what I'm doing with, you can see that the dev wallet is buying every dip, and yeah, it just makes sense, because where else would I put funds other than investing in infrastructure here as if needed. But there will be infrastructure needs, and that can be funded from many places, from corporate, from partners, from myself, from banks, and from licensing, and from revenue, which we are almost instantaneously cash flow positive. So if not already. So and then surplus revenues from Neobanx also go into a buyback program which will be quantified. I don't know if this is in the white paper yet. I think it is. The white paper doesn't go into the detail, but there's also, as part of the burn mechanism that increases scarcity, there's also a buyback mechanism, which increases the demand for SPOCK. So there's a lot of things baked into the system to ensure that the value increases. So we're still very early days, keep in mind. So we haven't done any marketing yet. We have no marketing budget. This is pretty much word of mouth. I'm doing these free live streams and sharing what I can on X primarily, and our Telegram group. So make sure you find our Telegram group. That's another backup mechanism. That's a pretty good group for a pretty good way I can exchange. It's easier to exchange documents there, but you can do that on X chat as well. So you're all invited. The X chat is going to be able to accommodate 1,000 people. So we've got 900 in the X community right now. All of that can be accommodated in the X chat and in the Ingram group channel. All right, so way over today. That was my longest one, and appreciate you all, and this is going to be a great journey together. And everything here, it's not legal advice, it's not investment advice, it's investment activism, because it's not just about the ROI, it's about your education, and it's about changing a system that we've been encumbered with for over 95 years, if not much longer than that. But the current high table has been in power for at least 95 years. And just now, things are converging and coalescing so that the circumstances, the conditions are right for us to flip that model, and for the first time, for financial emancipation, for people to be free and have private property rights as one of their as part of their core self-sovereignty rights, freedoms that we're all entitled to as human beings. Don't buy the socialist narrative, please, and push back on that and educate people. And all I ask is that people think critically for themselves. And I think that alone will, as long as you're curious, which I think might be one of the most noble things about the human species, is the curiosity. And there's always this debate around, is it awareness or love, right? Those are the two things that are maybe the two highest expressions of human potential. And the best qualities of humanity are our ability to love, and our ability to achieve awareness. And because it doesn't require a lot of intelligence. So, and no judgment on lack of intelligence. Love is, in my book Genius. Okay, one last thing. My book Genius, I study not just the intellectual genius, but genius is a spirit of something. And I study also saints, the exemplars of spiritual genius, if you will. And there's some of the most extraordinary saints were considered almost to be slow, right? Kind of like your, there's corollaries in modern life too, like your, people that are on the spectrum, right, who may not relate, who are cognitively divergent is the word, right? And versus those who are not. And sometimes the cognitively divergent, they see things more deeply and richly, and have their genius is really kind of unique and has something special to offer. But everybody has something special to offer as well. That's why I also say in my book, everybody is a genius, because genius is just an expression of your spirit and who you are, right? Your soul, if you will, as the Roman used genius as almost as a synonym for soul in Latin. And so anyway, some of these saints who were capable of incredible feats, they were not deemed to be highly intelligent. In fact, very simple sometimes, but they had another aspect that was extremely elevated. If they didn't have this fantastic intelligence, that seeming intelligence, the way we normally measure it, they had infinite love, right? And that generated healing and wisdom, or not wisdom, but in what would normally be deemed to be wise, but they had often profound capabilities and healing powers that not tied to IQ as that definition of intelligence. So I studied those kinds of geniuses as well in the book, and it's really interesting. So love is a superpower, and awareness is quite different. You can be, and you could have both, and that would be the ultimate aspiration, is to be the perfect expression of love in its strength, not just in empathy, but in its strength, because it's fierce as well. It has 9 aspects to it. But anyway, I'm getting way beyond the scope of today. So that's it for today. And live long and prosper. Follow, like, share, and see you again soon. Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific time, and then Saturday, and then we'll continue on Saturdays. We'll fix Saturdays at 8 a.m. PST every Saturday. All right. Live long and prosper.